It's only been a few days since the United States and Iran agreed to end the war in the Middle East, but it looks like that fragile ceasefire is already starting to fall apart. After 21 hours of negotiations in the Pakistani capital of Islamabad, United States Vice President J.D. Vance announced that the two sides failed to reach an agreement. And soon after, Donald Trump issued his latest ultimatum, as he put it. Starting immediately, the United States Navy, the best in the world, will begin intercepting all ships attempting to enter or leave the Strait of Hormuz. The United States Central Command confirmed that the blockade will begin at 10 a.m. on Monday, East Coast time. This means that by the time this episode is released, Washington's blockade is expected to be in place. Of course, Donald Trump is the one leading. So there's a possibility that the blockade could change, be delayed, or even be completely canceled before the time is up. But whatever happens, the movement of the American military indicates that the war in Iran is not completely over yet. But before we start, if you're new to our channel, make sure to subscribe so you'll always be updated with videos like this. Breakdown and blockade. When J.D. Vance called for a press conference in Islamabad, it was clear that there was already a problem with the talks. In Jerusalem on Saturday, in a televised address, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu insisted that the war against Iran is far from over, a clear indication that Washington's close ally has no real interest in long-term peace. On the same day, 2 American destroyers entered the Strait of Hormuz to try to conduct mine-clearing operations. They even managed to shoot down an Iranian surveillance drone before retreating. The situation became even more complicated because of the different expectations of Iran and the United States in the negotiations, positions that are almost impossible to reconcile. After J.D. Vance and his Iranian counterpart confirmed that the talks had failed, he immediately left with the other U.S. negotiators. Not a single high-ranking American official was left in Islamabad to continue the discussion. In the following hours, various reports came out saying that the positions of the two sides were too far apart to reach an agreement. According to journalist Barack Ravid, based on an anonymous U.S. official, America insisted that Iran should stop funding proxy groups in other countries and fully open the Strait of Hormuz for free trade without any charges, surrender their high-enriched uranium, and completely stop any nuclear enrichment in the future. Several mainstream media outlets in the U.S. also confirmed these conditions. The problem is, it's almost impossible for Iran to accept these demands. The country was weakened by several weeks of war, but it was not on the verge of collapsing as a state. Despite this, both sides were serious about attending the negotiations. The U.S. sent about 3 officials, including the vice president, while Iran sent 2 planes full of their diplomatic personnel. But in fact, Iran's previous nuclear deal in 2010 took 2 years to be finalized. So it's almost impossible to reach an agreement in less than 24 hours, especially since their positions are far apart. After the negotiations collapsed, Donald Trump threatened to take tougher action, ordering the U.S. Navy to blockade all ships entering and leaving the Strait of Hormuz. If fully implemented, all ship movements in the Persian Gulf would stop, even if they have nothing to do with Iran. Donald Trump further expanded his threat beyond the Strait of Hormuz, according to him. I've ordered our Navy to locate and intercept every vessel in international waters that has in any way paid Iran. No one who pays an illegal toll will have safe passage at sea. Trump added that there are other countries that will join the U.S. blockade, but he refused to name which ones. Meanwhile, Iran promised a strong response against any military vessel that tries to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, but they also said that civilian ships would be allowed to pass without any trouble. In reality, only a few ships have been allowed to pass each day since the ceasefire took effect. In fact, on some days, they allow even fewer ships to pass compared to during the height of the actual fighting. Eventually, the U.S. Central Command clarified Washington's plan. The blockade would focus only on ships entering or leaving Iran's ports. This means that ships not related to Iran would still be allowed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. On one hand, this situation is less severe for the world, both in terms of geopolitics and the economy. Countries like Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates no longer need to worry that their trade will be affected. And the global economy also doesn't need to prepare for more severe disruptions in the energy supply from the Persian Gulf. But on the other hand, this also raises new questions, especially about whether the US really intends to fully control or open the strait. For now, only a few ships pass through each day, and even though Washington has been pressuring its NATO allies for weeks, they still do not fully control the strait. Depending on Donald Trump's decision, the US might try to completely lock down the strait in the coming days. But this is dangerous because it would bring American warships within range of Iran's weapons, which could result in casualties among the soldiers if fighting breaks out again. On the other hand, the US could set up a perimeter around the strait. They would only block ships coming from or going to Iran, or those that have paid Iran, while allowing others to pass. This poses less risk for the US, but it could further slow down the flow of trade. At a time when the effects of the war in Iran are just beginning to be felt in the global economy, even a few weeks of delay, or longer, could cause serious problems. Back to war. Over the past weekend, Donald Trump clarified that it will take some time before the U.S. can fully implement the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. And this brings up another important question. What will happen in the meantime? Currently, the ceasefire will end on April 22, unless it is extended or replaced by a more permanent agreement before the deadline. And according to Trump, the United States will not be able to implement a full blockade right away. And because the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has threatened that they will consider any military vessel approaching the Strait of Hormuz as a violation of the ceasefire, the United States may need time to gather the necessary naval forces before they can actually approach the mouth of the strait. Although the U.S. has already sent a significant amount of naval power to the Middle East, its ships are scattered in different locations in the Arabian Sea, Red Sea, and Mediterranean Sea. According to naval experts, Trump's call to NATO allies may be due to Washington's difficulty in sending more forces to the region. But according to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Trump may not wait any longer to solve this problem. Instead, according to sources, Trump is considering the limited resumption of military strikes inside Iran. There is also a possibility, although smaller, that he will resume the large-scale bombing that was carried out in recent weeks. In a social media post after the negotiations, Trump admitted this possibility, saying that the U.S. is ready to destroy Iran if necessary. Because of past instances where the U.S. attacked during negotiations, there is a significant chance that America will once again carry out airstrikes without warning, even if a temporary ceasefire is technically still in effect. Trump also mentioned the possibility of attacking Iran's energy infrastructure, similar to his previous threats before the current ceasefire was agreed upon. But for now, it is unclear if the new air campaign will bring any change to Iran's position in the negotiations. According to insiders, there are clear divisions within Iran's leadership between their civilian leadership and the Revolutionary Guard Corps. The civilian leaders prefer to extend the ceasefire or, if possible, achieve a comprehensive peace agreement. But the military side does not believe that an agreement is useful. They are more interested in achieving Iran's objectives through force. For now, the civilian leadership has been given the chance to try their approach, even though the IRGC reluctantly agreed. But if negotiations completely fail and the U.S. suddenly returns to military operations, it could prove the Iranian military's belief that talking is pointless. In addition, the measures Trump is considering, from attacking Iran's energy and civil infrastructure to blockading the Strait of Hormuz, will surely cause severe economic damage. But the effects of this will not be felt immediately. It will take several months before it fully hits. For now, the Iranian government is not in immediate danger of collapse. Instead, it is clear that they see this as a battle of endurance against the United States, where Trump's camp seems hesitant to accept or admit any defeat or shortcomings. Iran, especially its military, seems ready to accept the possibility of a severe economic crisis in the coming months in exchange for the chance to put immediate pressure on the US, which could eventually force America to withdraw from the fight. If we look at the situation more broadly, beyond the intense statements of the past few days, Washington's actions are clear. Almost immediately after the ceasefire took effect, the US began continuous resupply missions from Europe using large cargo aircraft. These bring a huge amount of supplies, from weapons, soldiers, non-combat supplies, and more in preparation for a possible new phase of the conflict. As the weekend went on, these flights became even more frequent, a sign that the US was preparing for something, most likely the renewed outbreak of fighting. The US also had other flights, this time using air refueling aircraft that flew east from Israel in large numbers. This suggests that there are ongoing operations in the air, possibly for patrol or to project strength and intimidation. Meanwhile, Iranian officials continue to emphasize that they are ready to return to war if necessary. On Saturday, CNN also reported that Iran may have received new air defense systems from China based on American intelligence. In the global markets, the tension was immediately felt. The price of Brent crude oil reached $103 per barrel on Sunday, as the world prepares for another week of turmoil in the Middle East. Thank you for watching.